All of these excellent photos are of the Philippines directly after the Second World War. They show amazing images of the devastation that the war brought upon the Philippine Islands and its people. Dr. Jose P. Laurel negotiating for the revision of Bell Trade Act of 1946 with the American panel. The Bell Trade Act of 1946, also known as the Philippine Trade Act, was an act passed by the United States Congress specifying the economic conditions governing the independence of the Philippines from the United States. The United States Congress offered $800 million for post-World War II rebuilding funds if the Bell Trade Act was ratified by Philippine legislature, which duly approved the measure on July 2 days before independence from the United States of America. The President of the Philippines, or locally known as Ang Pangulo, is the head of state and government of the Republic of the Philippines. Philippine presidents serve a term of 6 years in the office. The President of the Philippines heads the executive branch of the government that includes the cabinet and all executive departments. The President of the Philippines is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The Philippines has undergone many transitions in the government from the First Philippine Republic going to the Fifth Philippine Republic. Manuel A. Roxas is the first president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. He won the elections by a slim margin. He was inaugurated on July 4, 1946, the day the U.S. government granted political independence to its colony. The short-lived Roxas administration from 1946 to 1948 embarked on a course that resulted in what were considered as his greatest achievements, namely the ratification of the Bell Trade Act, the inclusion of the Parity Amendment in the Constitution, and the signing of the 1947 Military Bases Agreement. Roxas was not able to complete his presidential term. He died from a heart attack at Clark Air Base on April 15, 1948. Elpidio Quirino is the second president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. Being the vice president, he took over the presidency after Roxas's death, and he managed to retain the position after winning over Laurel in the infamous fraud-tainted 1949 elections. The Quirino administration from 1948 to 1953 focused on two objectives. First, to regain faith and confidence in the government, and second, to restore peace and order. He was more successful in the second objective, breaking the back of the Hukbalahap movement in Central Luzon. Ramon Magsaysay is the third president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. He was largely famous for his success in the peace campaign. He defeated Quirino in the 1953 presidential elections by an unprecedented margin of votes. Many regard Magsaysay as one of the Philippine presidents whose heart truly bled for the common man. He toured the barrios, opened up Malacanang to the public, solicited and acted upon their complaints, built artesian wells and roads. He had Congress pass the Agricultural Tenancy Act of 1954, providing greater protection to tenants. Death came to Magsaysay when his plane crashed at Mount Manungal in the early morning of March 17, 1957. Carlos P. Garcia is the fourth president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. He presided over the 8 months of Magsaysay's remaining term and went on to win the 1957 elections, which is known to be the noisiest and the most expensive in Philippine history. Garcia's administration from 1957 to 1961 was anchored in his austerity program. It was also noted for its Filipino First policy, an attempt to boost economic independence. Diosdado Macapagal is the fifth president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. He defeated Garcia in the presidential elections of November 14, 1961. Macapagal, who styled himself as the poor boy from Lubao, completed pre-law and associate in arts at UP. However, he was a law graduate of the University of Santo Tomas. Macapagal's administration from 1961 to 1965 is best remembered for resetting the date of the celebration of Philippine Independence Day from July 4, when the U.S. turned over the reins of government in 1946, to the more correct date of June 12, when Aguinaldo declared independence in 1898.